Hi there. Firstly, I'm delighted that we are now over 800 subscribers. As usual, I'm really grateful to you all for subscribing and for reading the reviews and in many cases getting in touch and discussing some of the reviews with me over the email. And the feedback has always been positive, which is very heartening. So we're going to continue, head towards the 1,000 obviously, hopefully by later this year. And as I mentioned on a previous broadcast, one of the things I'm looking at doing is some interviews, and I'm just finalising the logistics for that, and I hope to give you more information on that soon. We've also got some more of the Combatives technique videos lined up, already done. They're always very popular, so watch for them. But I'm now going to insert another bonus element which I hope you enjoy. So every now and again I'll make a comment about something in the news, current events, particularly anything that's of relevance to self-protection or to the kind of topics that we review here on this channel. And recently there's been calls in the UK for the banning of what they call zombie knives. Now, this isn't anything new, and some of you may remember similar calls for banning Rambo knives. Now, I watched a discussion program a week or two back in which a former UK Home Secretary, Jackie Smith, was commenting on the subject of zombie knives, and she mentioned that successive Home Secretaries had tried to ban these or Rambo knives and had failed. And then she went on to discuss some of the problems associated with zombie knives that are faced by the police. And most of what she said on that subject about the police problems was factually incorrect. But just to go over the problems that the Home Office has had in banning zombie knives is due to the fact that it's almost impossible to define them. Before you can ban something in law, you've got to define it very precisely. So what is it about a zombie knife that the particular features that differentiate it from other knives, and then you can ban it? For example, if you wanted to ban a knuckle duster knife, then you would say any knife that has a knuckle duster attached to it is illegal, and that's fairly easy to define and fairly easy to identify and enforce. But what features make a zombie knife or a Rambo knife a Rambo knife? Is it serrations? Well, my bread knife, my kitchen bread knife, has serrations. You probably see them there. Is it blade length? Well, this is a long blade. Is it the inscriptions, the names inscribed on the blade, or what it's marketed at? That's nothing to do with lethality or inflicting injury. So you can see it's a difficult task, and it's also a futile task, and it's totally irrelevant, because as Gary Spires always said, the best knife to use for self-protection or for inflicting damage on people is a carving knife, a butcher's knife, a home carving knife. Same thing you use to carve the turkey or the roast dinner, because it's designed to cut meat. This is obvious. And you can't ban carving knives, or you shouldn't, because they're a useful item and every household has one, at least one. I've got several. I've got a whole set that were given to me by a professional butcher who came on many of our courses, and they're wonderful knives. And we need them. We use them every day. And this whole episode brought to mind an earlier call to ban a weapon, which was in 1959, where the Restriction of Offensive Weapons Act was brought in. Excuse me. And I did some research on it for an article I did back in the days of Fighting Arts magazine. And what I found out that this act was brought in specifically to ban what we call flick knives, or what in America is known as a switchblade knife, because they were being used to some extent by teddy boy gangs in their gang-on-gang violence. It wasn't a massive problem compared to what's going on today, but it was in what was otherwise a fairly peaceful time in our history. And the politicians who were calling for the ban were promising that if Parliament went ahead and banned this weapon, then everything would be great. Armed crime would disappear, peace would reign, and it would be rainbows and unicorns forever. And of course, lo and behold, flick knives were banned. They've disappeared. They're hardly ever used at all now. And knife crime is an epidemic. So it's a panacea to ban particular instruments or weapons. It's futile. For many, many years, the weapon that was used more than anything in edge weapon attacks, according to the FBI in the United States, were screwdrivers, and they're not going to get banned. So the idea of banning particular types of weapons does very, very little, if anything at all, to actually solve the underlying problem, which is knife crime, the use of knives, the criminal use of knives. The other thing that Jackie Smith said was that the police have problems, that if they raid someone's premises and they have these types of knives, other weapons, machetes and so on, the police are powerless to do anything about it, because these are legally held or legally allowed to be held in your home. However, if you watch lots of the police reality shows where you see them executing drug and other criminal warrants, and they do come across these things, machetes, swords, martial arts weapons, knives, lock knives and so on, they take them. No ifs, buts or maybes, they just have them away, they take them. And then it's up to the guy to go and put up a case for why he should have them back. And so that is not a problem that seems to face the police. And anyway, is that the real problem? The problem isn't these weapons in people's houses, it's the knives on the street. And how do we deal with that? How do we reduce knife crime on the street? There's a couple of things. Obviously, deterrence is always a factor. If you deter someone from thinking of carrying a knife, and that's only done if he thinks he's likely to be caught and likely to face severe punishment, and neither of those things is true. The chances of being caught are slim, and courts are not even imposing the full punishments for possession of a bladed article in many cases. So deterrence doesn't seem to really work to that extent. And in many cases, again, if you watch the police reality shows and they've stopped somebody, they've got some sort of knife on them, or other bladed article, when they give the resolution of the case, quite often no further action was taken for this. So you know, it's hardly a deterrent effect. So the other thing is to actually detect, which is the thorny question of stop and search. Now, I don't have a problem with stop and search. I was once stopped 3 times in one night. I'd been teaching martial arts in Manchester. I'd come back to the station. I decided to walk home. It was a nice night. I was walking along, I had my training bag with me. On the main road, police car stops. What's in your bag? Showed him. Okay. 100 yards later, another police car stops. What's in your bag? Showed him. Off he went. Short time later, a third police car zooms in. Can we have a look in your bag? I said, I've just been searched twice. Of course, they never believe you. Showed him. Training kit. Not a problem. Now, obviously, someone had done something and fitted my general description, or was carrying a bag, or they were really engaged in an active search, and I didn't have a problem with it. I was also stopped and searched right outside my own front door. I was coming home again with a training bag and a uniformed police officer, which was a major surprise to see one on foot in the suburbs. Excuse me, sir, do you mind if I have a look in your bag? No problem. Open it up, sees my training kit. He goes, can I ask where you live? And I pointed. It was actually about 5 yards from my front door. And he said, you don't mind me stopping you? I said, listen, you can stand there and stop and search everyone. I said, I'd be happy. So that's my position on it. Now, a couple of times the police in Merseyside have erected metal detector arches around the area of Concert Square, which is the main nightclub and pubs and clubs entertainment area, and they funnel everyone through it, and that's a really good idea, and I applaud it. Also, British Transport Police have done it at the station a few times, but it's very, very seldom. It's very seldom. And I think if they did it more, it would have much more of a result. So, just to sum up, rather than ban specific features of knives or types of knives and so on, it's better to have activities which actually stop the use of knives on the street, and severe sentences for the carriage, never mind the use, for the carriage of knives illegally. Even though I teach the use of the knife, and you know, on this channel I review classic knives and so on, the illegal use of knives in knife crime is a terrible thing, and I am completely against it. In many countries that I've operated and worked in, it's legal to carry a knife for self-protection, and I don't have a problem with that. But where it's illegal, then I obey the law and I encourage everyone else to. And in the UK, it's illegal to carry an offensive weapon. So I urge the authorities to review the procedures, rather than ban knives because they've got fantasy elements or are painted green. Look at how it can actually be enforced, and steps that actually work can be put into practice. Take care.